Welcome to the first weekly episode of Health Your Own Way podcast, where we discuss health topics ranging from physical, mental, emotional, as well as current fads within the industry. The goal here is to provide insight on those topics to allow you to make choices in your personal life. Now, I did mention earlier that you're a holistic nutritionist, and a lot of people may not know what that is, and people understand what a dietitian is and nutrition is. May I ask you, can you give us a little insight of what the difference is between those two, like a holistic nutrition and a dietitian?
That's a great question. A lot of people actually mix those two up, and from both camps, from dietitian and nutritionist, they tend to kind of give the definition in different ways. So I'm going to try and give it in a neutral way without adding any kind of my own opinions into it. So a dietitian is a regulated profession, and that means that only dietitians can practice as dietitians, and they have to practice in a certain way that the government tells them to, following certain guidelines. Holistic nutritionists have see, the dietitian camp will tend to say more like, well, they can kind of, anyone can call themselves that, they can kind of do anything, but they are regulated within their scope of practice, meaning they can't practice medicine, they can't treat certain diseases, and that kind of varies based on the province. But in a nutshell, dietitians have to practice a certain way, and holistic nutritionists are welcome to kind of have more leeway in terms of like the way that they give nutrition protocols to their clients, but still staying within whatever is regulated by their scope of practice.
So are you saying they could basically tailor it to somebody else's needs? It's not like verbatim, like depending on who you're dealing with. Welcome to the weekly episode of Health Your Own Way podcast. Why should we care about mobility itself?
Okay, so mobility's been a mesh word in the fitness industry over the last few years. And basically what mobility is the ability to control a joint. It's not the same as flexibility. We have a lot of people that come in that are yogis, gymnasts, etc., and they have great flexibility but not good mobility.
Okay.
And mobility is basically the ability to control that joint versus just whip it into space at a crazy degree. So why we should care is, the biggest thing for me is improve joint health.
Okay.
You should make your joints move the way they were designed to move, and mobility training allows you to squeeze the range of motion and get everything that you're supposed to from that joint. The second thing that comes in hand with that is injury reduction. If your joints are healthy and they're mobile and they can do things and accept a load in these positions, you're going to be at a much lower risk for a chance of injury. That in turn means you are exercising properly, you're going through the correct techniques, you have more strength output because the right joints are working.
When we talk about mental health, a lot of people may have the wrong perception of what mental health is. How would you describe what is like the definition of mental health?
Yeah, so really easy way of just putting it is that mental health is your psychological well-being.
Okay.
So a lot of people overcomplicate it and think that it's a lot of other things like mental illness, which we can talk about. But mental health is just your psychological well-being, just like your physical health is just your overall physical well-being from how you're doing, how you're eating, and how well you're thriving in life. But we're looking at it from the psychological perspective.
I think a lot of people, when you think of mental health, a lot of people think depression. Episode on Health Your Own Way podcast, like for lifestyle training and competition training, a lot of people may not know the difference itself. In your own personal experience, what do you think the difference is, and I guess what are the difference for you?
Well, I guess it all depends of the individual's goal, right, and how driven they are. When I first got into this, I just wanted to get in the best shape of my life. We were talking at work. This lady had a trainer. I went to see him. I started in January, and in March, I was like totally changed. I started at 199, and then by March, I was like maybe 160 with abs.
Nice.
Everything. So, and then at the time, my coach was like, my trainer, if you will, he was like, "Oh, do you ever think of competing or anything like that?" I didn't even know what it was. So, being competitive by nature, I did my first show with him, and yeah, I guess it just depends on the person's drive. Like you can do lifestyle training to get in better shape, and then I think after that, once you've kind of dabbled and see how you are in the gym, then if you want more, you can kind of get into the more competitive side of things.
Thank you for joining us today on our weekly episode on Health Your Way podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share with others, and please feel free to comment below and ask any questions on topics we discussed, as well as future topics you'd like to hear about. Have a happy and healthy week, and be sure to tune in next week for the next episode on a Health Your Own Way podcast.